This is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, and I'm here with Bill Fraser, who's the city manager of Montpelier. And Bill, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, Pat. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I wanted to check in last week. You had a sort of grand opening, I guess, of downtown Montpelier, which was very exciting.
Yes, it was.
A lot of stores opened up, but maybe you could take us back a little bit about how bad was it? I mean, I can't imagine what you all went through, and even here at City Hall.
Sure. Yeah, we had essentially the 100-year flood. It was the highest water level since 1927, and so a good 5 feet of water throughout downtown. Pretty much closed up every business and every building in our downtown area. Devastated the basement of our building. Cleaned. We even had residual problems on the first floor here at City Hall. We had some damage to our police station, fire station, some road washouts. All in all, about $10.8 million of damage to city facilities, not counting private, businesses and buildings. We've had some homes that were, people displaced, homes that are probably going to have to be taken down. So yeah, absolutely devastating flood.
Awful. I've interviewed a few of the owners, and even here and in Barrie, Barrie seemed to be encased in mud as opposed to the flood. I mean, the water here, but just awful. And I've talked to one owner in particular that is struggling so hard to get back.
Right.
So it was great to see in the newspaper and to have all these stores open up all at the same time, and I hope it was a great celebration.
Yeah, I think, it's been a real goal to get open by fall. I mean, for many, not only just for psychologically to get back up and running, but foliage season going into holiday season is really the busiest time of the year. So, these businesses want to get back open and dealing with their commerce as soon as they can. Obviously, every building is different. Every landlord is different in terms of the structural repairs they need to make, and different businesses have different needs. I think some of the food businesses, restaurant businesses, got hit a little harder because they had all that refrigeration and cooking equipment, things that had to be completely replaced. So they're at the mercy of some orders coming in. We all know what supply chains were like before the flood,
Right.
And so and availability of contractors.
I was just going to ask you about that because that was hard before the flood, getting people to do stuff, especially if you have to clean out and make sure that the restaurants are safe for people to eat and deal with food.
Absolutely. And when we talk about flood water, I think people don't think, but that water is really pretty toxic. It's got sewage in it, it's got fuel oil in it, it's got all sorts of residue from all kinds of places. It's not just river water.
Right.
And so if it gets in your building, gets on your walls, gets on your counters, I mean, they've got to go. So people had to strip out their whole not office, but their business area, anything that the water touched. And like I said, with food businesses, it's that much more sensitive. So everyone needed, cleaning people, everyone needed carpenters, everyone needed electricians, plumbers, you name it. They were all in demand at the same time, here in Montpelier, but in Barrie, in Ludlow, in other places in Vermont too. It wasn't just a Montpelier flood.
Have you heard of stores that are not opening up now, or almost all of them thinking about or trying?
I haven't heard for sure people that are not opening up. There are some that don't seem to be making a lot of progress, but I don't know whether that's because they're dealing with their insurance or they're on a different pace. But I suspect there will be some, unfortunately, people that maybe weren't sure they wanted to continue anyway and something like this.
So how did this week go? You have the grand opening, stores are open, ready to greet customers. Did you see any influx more, obviously, than has been happening the last couple of weeks? Are there people coming back and spending money and supporting the businesses?
I understand that as these businesses have been opening, they've had really good turnout, and I think a lot of that is from locals who want to support them. We have had, it's been kind of interesting. There have been a fair amount of out-of-state tourists around, and many of them don't know about the flood. We're getting reports from businesses that people are coming in saying, why is everyone closed, or
Right.
why did everyone choose to renovate at the same time? And
Oh, I heard that somebody overheard a tourist saying that.
Yeah.
It's funny that they all chose to renovate at the same time.
so I know they've been trying to put up posters and some publicity
Right.
about this is what happened. We're recovering from a flood and a catastrophic event.
Right.
But I think every business and building owner are going at the pace that they can, based on their
Right.
funding, their finances, their insurance, their availability of contractors. Their they need to get their own inventory back in.
Yeah.
So I think folks are just moving along. I know a target was set for that October weekend just as a psychological, let's try to
Right,
get as many
right.
people open and let's have a celebration just to tell the world we're back,
Right.
we're back in business. I know a lot of people certainly want to be open by the holiday season, and also wants to be, sort of doing those kind of renovations in January.
Right, exactly.
So-
And you had amazing amount of volunteers come to help. They just came from everywhere, I think.
It was
I heard
really-
a lot of great stories about that.
It was really extraordinary. We had 2,000 people sign up
Wow.
for to help. We had a volunteer inventory. People could sign up to help, and people could sign up to request help. And then our Parks Department sort of matched people
right.
up. So if you said, "Hey, I can come in at 2:00 on Wednesday," and this store said, "I really need someone at 2:00 on Wednesday," they say, "Pat, go down to this store."
Great.
And so it really worked out. So that list of people, considering we're a city of 8,000 people, to have 2,000 volunteers is
amazing,
really,
yeah.
large major cities
Well,
don't have that kind of
You've
turnout.
won a lot of awards in this city about being the best small town or the best, I don't know what all the awards have been, but they've been fabulous.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of love for this city.
There sure is,
great.
and I think like most communities, your downtown is the heart and soul of your community. Even though they're all private buildings and private businesses, it's still your community
yeah.
space. And so to see our downtown so destroyed and so underwater, literally, and people were like, "We have to do something. We have to help. We love these stores. We love this community. We need to help." And people came from all over.
right.
We had the city of South Burlington sent some equipment because we
Great.
were overwhelmed at first, and so they sent some to us. The city of Burlington sent some to Barry to help out because they didn't really get hit with the flooding, so they provided operators and paid for the time and everything just to help
Yeah.
get
You
us.
must have been under a little stress. Your own building is flooding, and
Yeah.
you had to probably make some decisions about the city itself. So
Yeah, it's been a really stressful time, I think, for everyone
Right.
involved with the city. Certainly, our staff, the emergency response people, our DPW folks who are up all night. I think they're kind of the unsung heroes in all of this. They were keeping drains open. They were keeping debris out of areas so that the water could flow, and they really prevented a huge amount of damage that night. Our dispatch center had to move in the middle of the night up to
Really?
the water treatment plant
Ah.
along with Barry's, and they managed to do that without missing a single call. Our EOC was at our police station, and we were concerned that we were going to get flooded, so we moved. It was an extremely stressful night and week, but our city employees really stepped up
That's
and
good.
did a great job, as they always do. And then since then, of course, just rebuilding everything, including our own city buildings.
Well, what do you think is next? I know Paul Costello stepped forward and hosted 3, which I think was, I don't know whose idea it was, but it was fabulous, to bring the community in for 3 meetings to hear from the people. And how, I mean, if you're going to change things, you may as well change in the right direction instead of just kind of replacing what you've always had. So I think I heard the first meeting, which was on Zoom, and I thought the comments from the people were great, and you could feel they felt good about being heard.
Right.
And Paul's now turned the rein over to Ben Doyle, who is going to lead a commission to take those recommendations.
Yeah,
What do you think is going to happen from there?
Well, I think it was a great process. So the city, Montpelier Alive, our downtown
Right.
organization, and the Montpelier Foundation, which is a fundraising organization and provides money.
Right.
So they raised over $2 million in donations to help give back to businesses
Right.
here, which was also phenomenal. So those three entities as a partnership sponsored these community forums because we wanted people to get engaged and we wanted to get their input while it was still fresh.
That's great.
So Paul, who is an experienced community facilitator and now retired, a Montpelier resident, led those 3 sessions. So the first one basically consisted of people laying out their concerns. The second one then sorted out those concerns. People broke into small groups and talked about them, and each small group came up with sort of their top 3 actions. And then the last meeting, people talked about those actions and then selected the highest priority out of all of them. I think it was 6 or 7.
Oh, great.
Like, these are the things we really need to do. And out of that came the creation of this this Community Resiliency Commission, which is chaired by Ben Doyle. Right. And I think there's 14 or 15 people on that. And so their task is to take those top priority items that were identified and follow up. And, some of them, like some things the city can do, like one of them was, protect the wastewater plant from, but that's something we should be doing and we should take on, right. But others, like dealing with floodplain and dealing with looking at the whole river corridors or looking at long-term adaptive, it's great that they can take this on, they can bring experts in, they can have a community process and let the city government sort of do our thing of rebuilding and just putting everything back together and delivering the services that we're supposed to be doing. So it was a great process. The 3 meetings were excellent. The outcome was excellent.
I thought the attendance was spectacular.
Was spectacular, yeah.
Because it wasn't only the people there, but also the people on Zoom. And I actually wrote a couple of comments myself, suggestions, which was a great way to share.
And every suggestion that was made, was recorded and sorted and, grouped. And that's what led to so all the comments from the first meeting were then grouped and, brought back in packaged form for the second meeting and then prioritized in the third meeting. So it was a great process.
That process may not happen overnight though, right?
Yeah,
it's going to take a while because there's got to be money and some real thought to what kind of changes.
Yes, and people have to be, willing to do them. I think sometimes, there can be a lot of call for hard decisions. But then those hard decisions, when they actually get laid out, people, react to them.
Right.
And, like I mentioned, these buildings, for example, I think flood-proofing, somehow protecting the historic buildings in downtown is a really high priority. Right. But they're all privately owned. And so the extent to which the building owner chooses to elevate their building or do flood protection or those kinds of things is really up to them. The city can put in regulations for new buildings, which we have done, and anything that's been built in the more modern era survived the flood with no problem because they were all built to flood protection standards. Right. But, would we build this downtown now with basements? Probably not. No. Right. But they all have them. So what do you do with them? Do you fill them in? Do you and who decides that for each building? And so I think it's going to be a process. People are going to have to buy into it. Will we continue to allow building near the river, or should we restrict it? And it's easy to say right now, restrict it, let the river do what it's going to do. But in a couple of years, somebody wants to do a project, and the regulations are too hard. Why won't they let us do this? Everyone wants to be. So it's
so pretty by the water, though, Bill.
I know. Well, you've been involved in politics for a long time, and you know that these are all trade-offs of values, and it's not necessarily, if 2 + 2 is 4, we don't have to have committees for that. It's when 2 + 2 is 5 that someone's going to decide, is it 5 or 6, and what's the preference, and that's where we're going to find ourselves into making value decisions. And the more the community can be engaged to that from the ground up, the better we'll be in the long run.
I totally agree with that. That's great. And then the council will make the final determination, right?
In some cases, yes, or some may be voted on by the public, or some, may even be advocated for state regulations. So you think about, we talk about the river corridor. It wasn't just Montpelier's river. This river flows, from where it begins all the way to the, Lake Champlain. So when we talk about reclaiming floodplain or looking at those things, you're talking about things that go into other communities. So it can't just be the city of Montpelier saying, we've got to do these things. It's got to maybe be the State Rivers Program, or, A&R, those kinds of things, and people saying, hey, this is a new standard for, we've had Irene, now we've had this. At some point we have to say, wait a minute, these are the resiliency standards. Interestingly, I think the state observed this as well. The things we did after Irene and some of the things that were mandated by the state after Irene all held up really well. They all did what they were supposed to do. Places where we'd had washouts that we changed the culverts, that we put in different kind of ditches, that we put in no problems this time around. And I think I heard that was the same for Waterbury, that the areas that they put in to prevent worked. Northfield had put in, restored some floodplain, had no issues.
Well,
so I think it's important that you have to keep doing those things.
Well, I was shocked when I saw how much water and where it went. I was here in 91 for the flood, but it was mostly on State Street, and I was going to comment about the water. You weren't kidding, because we were walking in the water, and oh my gosh, it's something to worry about. But when I saw the Montpelier Live had an aerial picture of Montpelier, and I was shocked at where the water went. It was just, I couldn't believe it. It was everywhere.
It was really something, I mean, it would have been, had our predecessors not put in the dam system back in the 1930s, we would have been underwater like everyone was in 27.
Yeah. What was the Wrightsville?
Wrightsville.
And that was,
we're protected by Wrightsville and the Marshfield dams, but Wrightsville really is the one
that was getting people a little worried, wasn't it?
Well, yes, and it got really near its capacity, and the concern was it would. I think inadvertently the concern was that somehow it was going to fail, and it was never going to fail. It was just that it was going to
overrun,
overtop it, and it was designed to hold the 100-year flood, and we had essentially the 100-year flood, and it held it, but it was it was right up to its design limit essentially.
Do you get a sense that people are starting to feel better? I mean, just more in control, more relaxed, or there's still a little worry about?
Well, I think everyone sees that the climate is changing, and that these storms are less predictable, and I think what's important to understand is the flood this summer wasn't a product of just the rain that day. As we had a very rainy summer leading up to it, and so anyone who's been around here knows that in July you could practically walk across the Winooski, with maybe get your ankles wet.
Yeah, right.
And this year it was already full,
Wow.
and the tributaries were full, and the ground was soaked, so it had no place, really to absorb. So when we got that heavy rain, it had nowhere else to go but to flood all the rivers and come down through. And that amount of rain in a normal summer, we would have said, oh, it's really pouring out, and wow, that river's really flowing, but it would never have flooded like it did. So it was all the months that led up to that July 10 rain that really contributed to this. And so we have to watch all those kinds of conditions.
There was a lot of talk in these meetings about moving the city up the hill, maybe towards the college or whatever, to get out of the flood area. But that seems to me, very, very long, but also I don't know if that would work or not. It's a lot of moving.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the ways you get to good solutions is to put all the ideas on the table.
Well, absolutely, right.
And to consider them. I mean, I think you're right. Sometimes in public discussions, we're awfully quick to claim a public use of a private property. I mean, and so
private property owners move or move.
Right. Not only moving these historic buildings and these this large amount of real estate up to a higher ground, but then there's a whole bunch of homes and things there. So I mean, it would be an enormous undertaking. That said, there are, there's a small community in Maine, I'm going to forget their name, but they had so many flooding that they just moved their main street, and their whole buildings just kind of moved them back a little bit away from the river.
Check that out.
Yeah, I want to say it was Peru, Maine, but I could be wrong. I mean, they didn't have a downtown like we had.
Or a state capital.
Or a state capital, or, and they had the room to do it, but still, they were like, forget it, we're done with this, we're just going to move.
That was amazing, watching the water completely surround the State House, and the State House was fine.
Yeah, well, because it's up high.
Because it's up high, right?
Yeah,
but that was great. That was a good visual.
But, yeah, it sure was. Yeah. But, many of the state buildings are in bad repair. Like I said, our building here, our entire basement is useless right now. And actually, part of our first floor, we we had a backup in a drain in our drinking water fountain in our hallway, shot water
Oh,
out for about
seriously?
24 hours, and it seeped through and wrecked all the rugs and
Bill.
sheetrock in one whole wing of the upper floor.
My thing
So they
is,
just moved in today, actually back in.
Oh, yeah, because I've seen a lot of trucks outside. My thing is mold.
Yeah, we had.
The silent killer of sorts, I guess.
Yeah.
When that's when the '91 flood happened in personnel, a week later there were 5 of us got sick,
Yeah.
and they came in and looked, and sure enough, in the basement was all mold. And you
Yeah.
don't know it. I mean, you're just breathing in the air, and all
Right.
of a sudden you're coughing, and there you go.
We were very cognizant of that here in this building, and had, air handling in right from the very beginning. The only offices that stayed open were this office, the city manager's suite, and the city clerk's. Everything
Yeah.
else was out of the building. But even then, we were running fans and air treatment and all that kind of thing to try to, and big blowers in the rest of the building. And it was definitely not a good air quality
Yeah, you could
situation.
feel
And
it in your throat, couldn't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
and we told everybody, you don't have to be here
Right.
if it's not suitable for you.
Right.
And we had another building the city owns up, the former Elks Club. That we had
Oh,
huge
great.
mold. I mean, it wasn't hit by the flood, but we had huge mold problem there just because
The rain.
it has been so much rain and,
Yeah.
and it's been so inactive.
Yeah.
Actually, it's been kind of closed up. So I think we've been told that mold was a big issue this year anyway with so much rain, and then flooded things just made it really
made it worse.
exacerbated it.
Well, I think you've got a challenge ahead, but you've got some great people working here, and you've got awesome support. Montpelier is an awesome city.
Yeah, it really is. It's a real
great.
privilege to work
Yeah.
with this community.
great.
And so.
Thank you, Bill Fraser, for all that you do. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank
Thanks
you,
for
Beth.
talking
Thanks
to
for-
us.
thanks for chatting.
Okay. So we're here at Kinney Drug on Main Street in Montpelier, and I'm with Steve Simpson, who is the regional manager for Kinney's. We're going right up to the top. So where were you when you got the phone call that said we're in trouble?
I actually was on vacation in Maine
Great.
when we got the call, and it sounded like it might be something minor, and then it became something major, and
Right.
yeah, so I cut my vacation short and came back midweek, and
Pretty shocking, wasn't it?
it was the videos and the pictures were just like nothing you'd ever seen before. It looked
Right.
like something you'd see on TV, but not real in your own town.
So did you lose a lot of product because your shelves are right down
Yeah.
to the ground?
We unfortunately lost everything. We lost all the inventory of our prescription drugs. We lost all of our
wow.
products on our shelves for retail sale, everything.
Oh my, that's terrible. That's
Yeah.
So how did you're back open, and you were part of the sort of celebration in town, although
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how difficult it was to get here to this place.
Yeah, it was incredible. We had a crew of our top management and some other folks come in and just help us clean the place out, and then turned it over to our own construction crew in addition to a outside construction crew that we had hired, and it took us about 2.5 months. It was actually
Wow.
quite amazing how fast we were able to turn it
You were
around.
lucky to find people. One of the things I'm hearing is that the workers it's hard to find the construction people, and in some cases the supplies and stuff. I know one store has been waiting for refrigeration for quite a while, and it looks like it's going to be a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So, and I guess Kinney's, because it's a national chain, was able to restock fairly quickly.
Yeah, we're actually not a national or a regional chain,
Oh,
is
I
what they
didn't
call
know
us. So
that.
we're an employee-owned company based out of New York. So we're only in New York and Vermont.
Ah,
So we only have 96 stores in the 2 states, and so we're kind of a smaller, what they call a regional chain.
Oh,
but
okay.
we were fortunate that we had a construction crew relationship from New York, so we were able to pull
Great.
that into Vermont and help us out over here.
excellent. And I know that a lot of other Kinney stores, I know Berlin stepped in, and you said Waterbury, it took on some of your customers and clients and helped them out while you were repairing. I also noticed that you redesigned the space out there. So how did that come about?
That was, so the first part, yes, we definitely had support from our Berlin store, thank goodness, and, patients were pretty happy about that, and they were, it was a big undertaking for that group, but our staff from here went there
Right.
and worked there the whole time, so it was worked okay. Here, when we had the opportunity, basically, once we realized that it was going to be a complete loss, and we had to renovate and pull everything. I mean, the floors had to be replaced, the walls had to be replaced. So we kind of knew we had a blank slate to start with. and we wanted to try to redesign it a little more modern, but keeping some of the charm of this building. It's a very old building, so we kept a lot of the ceilings that are very unique to it. But one of the things we always had in the old store was there was like a front door and a back door, and there was no good sight lines between the two. The pharmacy kind of stood right in between the two.
In the middle, right.
So we decided to try to take advantage of that, swap the pharmacy to the other side, give us better sight lines, open up the space, make it feel more roomy. And I think it came out really well.
You did a great job, actually. When I came in, I went, whoa,
Yeah.
it's a little different.
Yeah, it's a lot different.
So
but it came
how
out
is the
great.
support from people in town? I know lots of volunteers
Yes.
here, and I know Bill Fraser, we talked to him before we came here. Everybody was really busy.
Yeah, I mean, we had volunteers literally on day one stopping by to volunteer to help us out. It was incredible to help us just kind of empty out the building. And there was a few along the way, but yeah, everyone was fantastic. The town, you know, the locals certainly rallied around us and other businesses. And once we opened, it was incredible. Folks were coming in just to pop their head in and say, welcome back.
Exactly, that's great.
And then,
That's
you know,
good.
then they'd continue on their way. So
Okay.
yeah, it's been great.
Well, great. Well, we're very glad to see you back, and I'm sure your staff is glad to be back home.
Yes.
But they were wonderful. Like I, obviously, as you know, because you used to work in Berlin.
Yes,
For how
correct.
many years were you there?
21 years.
Wow. No wonder you knew me and my husband so well.
Yes.
But we are glad you're in charge of it all now. That's wonderful. Good
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
We really thank you.
Yeah.
So, welcome back.
Yeah, we're glad to be back and part of the fabric of Montpelier.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
See
you're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
Rolling.
Okay. So Cora, tell me a little bit about what you had to do to get ready to open. You were talking about the floors and
Yes, the floors had to come out. We had a lot of really sad customers because our creaky floors were iconic. Although I will say now nobody will trip on them because they even before they took on water, they were starting to
Buckle a
form
little.
frost
Oh,
heaves and things like that. So we had people who tripped a few times, and that wasn't good. But yeah, we had to take out the floor. They took out the subfloor. They put down a vapor barrier and put the new flooring in, and a new subfloor and everything in order to prevent anything that was bad air from the basement
Right.
coming up.
you said there's nothing in the basement now. It's just
It's actually, I've never seen it like that. It's
Oh,
just one, it used to be
Right.
5 rooms with walls and everything. It's now one big room
good.
with nothing in it.
that's good. Well, that's what they're encouraging people. If they have any equipment or any electrical units and stuff, just bring them upstairs.
Luckily, that stuff I think was already up.
Oh, maybe
So
they
didn't
learned
have
that
to
from the
replace.
first flooding.
Could be,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good. Anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it. So thank you. That's it. That's all. Hi, I'm here with Eric Bigglestone from Capital Stationery, and thank you for being willing to be on with us.
Sure, yeah.
Appreciate it. We're talking to store owners and your experience in the flood. Did they call you? What happened that day, that fateful day?
Well, as I said to somebody the other day, I wasn't here. I wasn't even in the country. I was on vacation.
Oh, wonderful.
So,
That's a great phone call.
so I don't really have any firsthand experience on the first several days of when it happened,
Okay.
but I definitely was communicating with my brother, who works and owns this place as well. So, the night it was happening, I was in a different time zone, and just trying to figure out what was going on. He was offering me or asking advice as what should we do. So we felt the best course of action was just take whatever was valuable out of the basement. Not that we keep a lot down
right,
there,
right.
but there is a lot down there. So during Irene, we hadn't been in the space yet, but we're moving in the weekend after Irene. So
Yeah.
I kind of gauged what kind of water we got from Irene,
Right.
and it wasn't really a lot. Maybe up to your mid calf.
Half, yeah.
So I really wasn't too concerned. We don't keep anything on the floor.
Good.
Anything of valuable is off the floor. So he brought everything up, put it on the sales floor, figuring it'd be okay. Well, you get 3.5 feet of water on your
Right.
sales floor, and
So
forget
you
about
lost
it.
a
So
lot of product.
we lost probably 60-70% of our
Wow.
store for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, we threw everything in the basement had to go. Everything up to the waist.
Yep. And
down
did you have
had
to
go. So-
replace your floor
the
here?
floors
That's
all, yeah, our landlord took, they
Yeah.
did a really great job of tearing this place apart and putting it back together. So
Great.
getting back to the real question of when the flood first hit, I was out of town, and luckily my brother was able to get a handle on things, and with the outpouring support from the community, I mean, we wouldn't be in the position we're in today if
Right.
it wasn't for the volunteers. I mean, that's the only thing that kept me, when I got back a couple days later, I mean, the outpouring of the community and volunteers just really, it kept me going. I know it kept my brother going, it kept a lot of other business owners going, that will get through it. Because if it was just on our shoulders, I mean, I probably would have just walked away.
Right,
It's just
right.
too much, too
Yeah,
overwhelming.
it's overwhelming,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. COVID
And-
was one thing, you just locked the door,
Right.
sit and wait. This
Right.
was, everything had to go. Like, how am I going to rebuild? Where am I going to get money to get more inventory? It just kept going.
Have you
and
had
going.
any help financially?
Absolutely, yeah. That's the only reason. That's the other reason why we're here today,
Yeah.
is from support from various organizations. I know Montpelier Live was
Right.
fantastic. The Montpelier Foundation was fantastic. A couple other grants that we got.
Good.
We had a GoFundMe page that was actually pretty amazing.
Excellent.
So between all that, you know, we're able to be here today.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we're open for business.
We are. We're open
And
for business.
I think somebody is mentioning that this is the fourth quarter for finances.
It is,
and
for sure.
So you
Fourth
have to
quarter's
make
the
it.
busiest.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
have to have some cushion to make it through January.
Through the winter, it's gonna be slow. Yeah, it always is pretty slow, but I think we're in a good spot. We also deal with a lot of Vermont vendors, so they were able to help us out a lot in getting new product. You know, helping us forgive some debt that, or some money that we may owe them by
Great.
saying, okay,
Oh,
just don't worry
really?
about paying this invoice. Let us know
Excellent.
when you want to reorder, and we have your back. So that's been instrumental.
That's wonderful.
And as big as a company Hallmark is, you can see our card run. They were tremendous. They're a huge organization, of course,
Right,
huge company.
right.
And they bent over backwards to help us. They got product to us right away. They had a staff come in and set it all up. They gave us a very generous discount to get up and running again.
Right.
So, you know, it was a little bit of everything.
One thing about people in general is that sometimes you wonder where everybody's at, but the minute there's a disaster,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
it's so clear that people need help. They just come
Yeah.
out of the woodwork. That's
And,
great.
you know, being in Montpelier for as long as I have, been doing retail as long as I have, I definitely have appreciation for our community, and I knew they would pull through, but to see it happen before your eyes was pretty amazing. There's definitely some swollen eyes and tears
That's great.
shed during this whole process.
Have
for
you
sure.
been participating in the forums?
No, that's beyond my scope.
Okay.
I run a retail store.
Yeah.
I don't know what
They've
the
gotten
answer
some
is.
very good,
I'm sure they have, and
response.
that's why we have those for those people who
Yep.
who have that drive and those ideas.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get my doors open.
Exactly. And you've been here,
be
let's see, the flood was 1991, so you've been here?
92.
92.
Was the
Yes.
flood.
Oh, I keep saying 91.
One of the floods.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, right.
This is my fourth
Yeah.
flood in 30 years. So.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Well, but this was probably the worst.
This is the worst for sure. Yeah, yeah.
When I saw
definitely.
the picture of the flood and where it went on Montpelier Live's Facebook page, I
Yeah.
could not believe how
Yeah.
much land and property it absorbed.
Yeah, so that was the
Really
other
bad.
thing that was interesting for me, because I wasn't remotely close to here when it was all coming down,
Right.
is social media. I just hopped on it and I was, you know, trying to have a vacation, but I couldn't help. You know, you want to know what's going on.
Right,
So I
right.
was able to keep up to date with that. My brother
Right.
obviously sent me a lot of pictures and video and just scanning pages of social media to understand what's going on. It was just, nothing can compare to seeing it in person, of
Right.
course. And like when I got here, a couple days later, it was just like, it was unbelievable, the destruction.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe it either. And a lot
Yeah.
of people couldn't get into their stores for a while either. So
Yeah.
you had that anxiety of how bad was
Yeah,
it.
for sure. Yeah, we were lucky enough where, well, I don't know if luck is the word, but we were able to get into it right away and
Oh, good.
pump out the water and
Good.
throw everything away.
Well, we're glad to see the doors
yeah,
open
yeah.
and hope people will come down because this is...
They are. It's been
this is
busy,
the-
so
is it good?
we're very happy and excited for it. We're fortunate this block is all open, so it kind of presents a nice presentation
Right.
that, you know, Montpelier's open,
Yeah.
and it, granted, we're not fully open. There's a
No,
lot,
and I
lot of
hope
work to be
people
done.
will
but-
remember that this is not done by a
Yeah,
long
and
shot.
I know a lot of merchants who are still, you know, they don't even have any drywall up or
right.
flooring up, and I feel for them so bad. I just don't know what to say to them when I see them. Like, you know, they're asking me how things are going, and, you know, it's going
yeah.
pretty good. I mean, but
I think some of them are having trouble finding people
it's finding
to
work.
do
Yeah,
the work.
yeah. It's definitely
Yeah,
finding people
yeah.
to do the work.
Well,
It's
we're-
coming along though. Like every week you hear, you know, like somebody's opened up or somebody's opening up next week. Restaurants are starting to open up. That's kind of like the
That's great.
barometer of how things are going, I think, because restaurants definitely, I think, have to work a little harder at getting reopened.
Well,
than
because they have
us
to really
retailers.
worry about mold and
Yeah, yeah,
impact
there's
of the food and
sure,
all that
of course,
stuff.
yeah,
so.
yeah, and their
But
refrigeration
we're
and all
glad
that,
you're
yeah,
here. So Thank you.
Yeah, we
and
are too.
Thanks to everybody that helped you out. That's
For sure.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for spending
All right.
time with us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you got
Appreciate
it. Thank you.
Hey there. We're here at the Botanica Florals. That's great. Right on State Street in Montpelier. And Sarah McAllister is one of the co-owners. Sonia Gron is the other co-owner. And they are open for business. Not quite 100% yet, but the doors are open. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about your experience on that phone call that said, hello, we're in trouble.
I'm not sure which phone call you're talking
Well, the one
about,
that
but
said there's flooding.
Oh, the flooding, yeah.
flooding,
Well,
yeah.
we knew what was going on
Oh.
with the flood. Yes, we did. It was, we were all aware, and when we came back in, when we could come back in, it was, we found out there was just over 40 inches of water in our store,
Whoa.
which was far greater than we ever expected.
Yep.
We kind of prepared for the level of water we had during Irene, and it was far worse than that.
Right.
So it was a really hectic few days of cleaning out the store so that our landlord could get a crew in here and start the recovery
And
work.
they did the floor, I
And
presume, or?
I mean everything.
Yeah.
You know, sheetrock, 4 feet up, all the sheetrock,
Wow.
everything is new. Electrical was moved up. We have a brand new floor, and it's. We lost 2 of our coolers out of 3, so we're back with the one that survived.
Yep.
We're still waiting for the other one to come in, and we lost a lot of furnishings and product and things like that, but we've started to replace things, and so we're very grateful to be back, but there's still things that we're waiting for and things that we want to, to sort of make it like it was, or at least very
Right.
close to
Well,
how it was.
we're trying to get people to realize that they've got to come downtown and support the local businesses, because as Sonia was telling us before, it's the 4th quarter for you.
It is.
And it's the quarter that gets you through the kind of quiet season of January, February, right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
so-
Yes. So we, so thanks to Montpelier Alive, which is our local downtown business association, we're planning a lot of events to try to encourage
Great.
people to come downtown and to know that downtown is. Maybe we're not back 100%, but we're rebounding. We're in the rebounding process, and people are opening, new businesses are opening back up every week, and so let's encourage people to come down
great.
and stay in town and enjoy it. And we're not we've been flooded. We went through something terrible, but we're coming
That's
back.
great. And, and you need the people's support for sure.
Absolutely.
And I hear Thanksgiving's going to be a Halloween, I'm sorry.
Halloween,
Halloween's
yes.
going to be a whole different thing?
Yes,
or-
we just put the poster up in the window today, but yes, Halloween, there's going to be not just trick-or-treating this year, but there's going to be a parade, there's going to be a performance of Thriller, the dance,
I love it.
Yes, and and there's going to be, there will be trick-or-treating as well, and so, it's going to be a real family. They're encouraging families to come and really enjoy it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Yes.
'cause this is great.
Please do.
Yeah, really. Thank you. I know that people are glad you're back.
Yes, it's wonderful. The community has been amazing.
Yeah.
They've been so supportive. We've had lots of people stop in this week and just say how happy they are that we've reopened, and
That's great.
so it makes us really feel
Excellent. Thank you very much. We will see you at work.
Thanks,
Nice to
Pat.
See you. Thank you. Katie, how are you?
I'm fine,
This is
thanks.
Katie Trout, who's the head of executive director, or what is your title?
Executive Director.
of Montpelier Live. And as I told you before, this town loves you. They just, at Botanica, they commented about Montpelier Live and all the work that you are doing. You are a one-man band or one-woman band and doing a fabulous job.
Thank you.
So
We're working hard.
I don't know how you have the energy, because there is so much to be done,
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just ongoing.
right? How do you keep people interested and contributing and helping? Because when you look at town, it doesn't look so bad, but when you get to meet with the owners and find out what other challenges they've got, it's not going to be over anytime soon.
No, it's a very tight community. Many of the store owners live here or have family here, or are friends with people here, and everybody loves this community and they love the downtown. So they're all talking to each other, and people are hearing those stories.
That's great.
There's still desperation.
Yeah, right. It's very hard to recover from something like this as well, because I'm sure they're thinking they've got to prepare for, if God forbid, there's the next time. So I heard something interesting about Halloween. Are you involved in that by any chance?
We are.
I
yes.
bet.
We're
Yeah.
having a big Halloween celebration. It's something that our community turns to every year, and even though not all the businesses are open, we have confidence there enough that there will be downtown
That's great.
trick-or-treating.
That's great. And that'll be good for people to see what's open and what's not open, and the condition of some of the not open stores, because there's a lot of work to be done in some of them. That's good.
That is true.
Yeah. So is this your permanent home here, or have you always been here? I know you had to go to the senior center for a while.
Yeah, we were located in City Hall prior to the
Oh,
flood,
okay.
but in the finance committee, which is the other side of the building. And then we had to move with the planning and the finance over to the senior activity center. And I'm grateful that the city of Montpelier has provided office space
Right.
and had us set up the entire time. And now they're giving us this office space, and it's really nice to be back in City Hall. It's more convenient, and we're closer to our downtown
That's great.
where we're working.
Right, that's great. I'm going to have you on it. People should hear this. You'll be on WDEV with me, and we'll get that link on the up and posted so that people can hear an hour's worth of the recovery and the resilience of this town, because
Yeah.
I think people just want it to come back. I don't know what that means, because I know we were at Capitol Stationery and it's changed. The Kenny Drug has changed, and it's an opportunity to maybe correct some things from a structural perspective that should have been fixed.
Yeah, we're at a really important part of time here where we have the opportunity to make changes, as you stated, before everything goes
Right.
into place set in stone.
Right, that's great. Well, thank you for all the work that you're doing. Kudos to Montpelier Alive. And who is your assistant, a woman that
Yes.
works with you? What's her name?
Carolyn Grudinsky, and she's our event and marketing coordinator.
Great.
And so she'll be working on Halloween,
Oh,
which is
great.
on Tuesday.
Yeah, we have to come down for that. That'll be great. That's nice. So come on down and enjoy Halloween with Montpelier Alive, and support your local stores, because they were talking about this is the fourth quarter for them financially.
Yeah.
And if they don't do well this quarter, they may struggle getting through the slow season, which is January, February,
Yeah.
before spring hits. So we need to have folks come down and think Christmas, think presents, think buying.
Start shopping.
Yeah, exactly. Shop till you drop. Thank you very much for all of that you've done for this city.
You're welcome.
Thank you.